All right, welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ICP price one more time, as of course we are seeing that a lot of market participants at this point, they are very much worried and almost running out of patience from what the ICP price is doing. I really wouldn't be blaming anybody at this point for what they are feeling, because if we really want to take a look at the price right now, it's been more than 200 days that the price has just been going sideways right around the $5 mark, $4 and stuff like that. So yes, people get tired, but really I think that they are missing the whole idea of cryptocurrencies, right? It has been the case over and over that 95% of the time you're going sideways or you're going towards the downside, and eventually the 5% that you decide to go up, you almost go up in a straight line. And this is what we live for here for ICP, right? Yeah, I know all this stuff, and yet I decide to be 100% bullish all the time because I want, to stay sane and at least never miss that 5%, because when it eventually happens, that's all where the money is going to be made right there. There are a lot of examples I can show you that I just talked about. 200 days in sideways action here for ICP, and we're looking for that vertical push towards the upside. Have we ever had something like that in the market? Take a look at this. This is chain link. And this was even much more brutal than the 200 days that I'm talking about, because you can see from the moment the accumulation was beginning right there until the very end, that was 525 days of going literally nowhere. I can tell you with a high degree of certainty that during this moment, everybody was screaming all sorts of crazy things. It's dead, it's that, it won't come back, it will never pump, just as everybody is talking, sugar, honey, iced tea about ICP at this point. So eventually, these things, they move towards the upside. You can see from the bottom until where the price was at the peak, we are looking at something like a 518-20% thereabout. The bottom line here is that it's never meant to be that easy. So that's where we are here with ICP Internet Computer Protocol. I may have scared somebody saying that this was taking 525 days, and for ICP we are still at like 200 and something days. But I'm not trying to say that we still have got another 300 something days here for ICP to eventually start pushing. In fact, I actually believe that it's going to be very much sooner than a lot of people are going to be thinking. Of course, it's not enough to go ahead and say that, oh, I think it's going to be sooner without showing any sort of data, and that's exactly what I'm going to be trying to do in today's video. Before we start, I want to kindly ask you to help me spread the video by delicately tapping the like button. It will, of course, tell the YouTube algorithm that this information is very much relevant. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want to be seeing more of these ICP updates, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that whenever I make an ICP video, you will be notified. Without me further running my mouth too much, let me continue off real life examples where we have seen cryptocurrencies going sideways like this and eventually just pushing towards the upside. You may have seen from some of the other videos that I do time and again, I talk about ZBEC, but even ZBEC was going sideways for a very long time. Eventually, you just happen to hit a rock bottom, and then eventually you started pumping as high as 900%. This is how incredible these things can turn out to be. Let's go to the one that I also like the most, and this is XRP. Now with XRP back in 2017, you can also see that it had this crazy moment in which it was just going sideways, and once again everybody on planet Earth was screaming that this whole thing is dead and it would never come back, just as everybody says about ICP right at this point. Then from the bottom right there until where it eventually reached its peak, which I couldn't even fit on the screen right now, we are talking about multiples and multiples going as high as 1000x. That's really the story of cryptocurrencies. You just happen to go sideways and down for a very long time until things just really get exciting out of nowhere actually. So it's normal to feel pretty much beaten at this point and feel hopeless that ICP is boring, is this and that, but eventually things change, right? And they change pretty much quickly. Another example of a boring chart is the Dogecoin price, but I just want to show you the value of holding through these moments, because once again, remember, we say that this is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. I just don't say that lightly. Actually, it's literally a fight, and in a fight you expect anything. It's not easy. How can you be saying you're in a fight when you just beat somebody? That's not a fight. You beat up somebody, but in a fight you take blows, right? And in these situations, what are we talking about? We're talking about the emotional stress that you have to go through. Think about it, from my perspective as well. I'm much more like a cheerleader, right? And imagine how my emotions are messed up whenever I'm supposed to make a video. update the community, and the price is pretty much doing nothing. So these are the kind of things that I'm talking about. But eventually, as you see here with Dogecoin, is going sideways for a very long time. I mean, this is boring, I would say. If we want to be measuring how long that was, this was, let's say, from the beginning here until the end where it eventually started moving. 440 days, only for you to go up a vertical. Let's also do that by in a space of, I mean, this is crazy, in a space of 77 days. So you go sideways for 444 days, then you pumped 77 days. It's crazy. So this is, of course, my main message at this point, that it may be feeling like, it's bad and stuff like that, but these things eventually find a way of working out perfectly. I was saying that I don't expect ICP to go another 200, 300 days going sideways, because what we have is that we have got a condition that we've always needed for altcoins to start pumping towards the upside. Now, what you have on my screen right now is the total market cap of all crypto. What you notice is that we are actually at all-time highs, but it doesn't feel like that. Everybody is pessimistic at this point. And I hear also people saying, oh, it's only the new coins which are pumping and stuff like that. It's always about rotation. Money will eventually flow into ICP again. Everybody knows about this chart where you have phase one, where the Bitcoin price really goes and does magic, hits all-time high over and over again, then followed by Ethereum, big caps, and then maybe even like the smaller market caps might. Now, haven't we seen Bitcoin hitting all-time highs multiple times? Yes, we have seen that. Isn't Ethereum at pretty much all-time highs at this point? Yes, it is. And large caps like Tron, BNB, Sui, Solana, they are all at all-time highs at this point. We have had this whole thing. Now, we are waiting for a season in which pretty much everything shines, right? So yeah, everybody knows about this cheat sheet, but applying it and trying to see it in real time is probably the hardest thing. And as you can see at this point, we are at all-time highs, yet everybody is pessimistic. It's really interesting. The market makers have done a great job discouraging everybody. But let me just tie back to how this positively affects ICP Internet Computer Protocol, because you can see that usually when you get to previous all-time highs like what we have done here, you tend to expand and go even way higher. So this was the case also back in the bull run that we had in 2021, and you can see that once we broke this here, the previous all-time high of 2017, 2018, this is where a lot of altcoins did something spectacular, right? They will take turns, obviously. It's not like everything will move at once at the same time. Some will be a little bit lagging, but whatever the case, you can see that there is usually this kind of expansion that we're also expecting this time around, that we have got something like that right there. Now, this includes Bitcoin, and that's why it's a little bit like ahead of where everything else is. However, if we go down a little bit and take a look at a chart that does not include Bitcoin, we also find out, we have got pretty much the same thing. However, it has not expanded yet. So we're still looking for that expansion, just as we had back in 2020 and 2021 in that amazing bull run. And let me just tie back to how that eventually affects the ICP price. Now, what you have on the screen right now in blue is the ICP Internet Computer price chart. And let me just adjust it nice and easy so that you see that these things are pretty much moving in tandem, right? So when this whole thing goes sideways, we also see ICP going sideways. When it pumps a little bit, we also see ICP pumping. And that has been the case over and over again. So we would say maybe 95% of the time we're moving along together. However, as of late, we have seen that this thing has gotten back to resistance, and we are not seeing any reaction right now from ICP. Now, obviously, this is where people say, oh, ICP is dead, it's not going to be moving. I totally disagree with them, because how can you be disregarding 95% correlation and choose 5%? It just doesn't make any sense from a logical perspective. My thesis is that we're going to be having a clean breakaway out of this resistance, and it is in that moment we're going to be seeing ICP doing almost like a catch-up trade right there, which I also expect to happen in a very quick fashion, almost vertical, just as I've shown you with those other structures, how crypto has fooled everybody, right? Looking or pretending as if it's weak and stuff like that. All of a sudden, it starts pumping 20%, 50% in a day. Then those people who have been on the sidelines are forced to FOMO, right? Then it crashes on them one more time. They start doubting, and the cycle repeats. This is one of the most bullish charts that you can ever come across, right? We're very much close to that. And as I said, with those other structures, yeah, they were taking 400, 500 days, whatever the case may be. I think that for ICP, we are almost done right there. However, I want to mention one thing that may not be as bullish, but I'm not trying to say, oh yeah, there's a scenario in which we do. No, I'm still very much bullish right there. However, just like what we have seen with a lot of these micro accumulation patterns, we may just have 1 week towards the downside. I will show you what I'm talking about with an example here with Chainlink. Now we can see that Chainlink was going sideways, then it just had this quick crash towards the downside, and then that marked the bottom, and then it started pumping once again. Now we also had the same thing here with ZBAG, and you can see that after a whole lot of sideways, there was this huge flash towards the downside and quickly bought up, and then that was marking the bottom, and it eventually started pushing towards the upside. I think if I go to XRP, I can see almost the same thing right there, and that's almost something like this one here, where we're going sideways. You just wrong foot everybody that, oh, the world is falling over, and then it's quickly bought up, and then you start pushing towards the upside once again. Coming back to ICP Internet Computer Protocol, I'm just saying that at the back of my mind, I have created a scenario in which I don't want to be surprised if I see ICP, let's say it quickly draws down, hits something like $4, $24 there, and then that marks the bottom. Then we start pushing towards upside, just like what we have seen with those other Wyckoff accumulation patterns. It's a scenario that I keep very much closely in focus, meaning that I don't want to be in surprise and start panicking that the board is falling all over the place, which would be a total disaster, because that may probably mark the bottom. Now, one reason why I am giving a little bit of significance to that scenario is that if we take a look at CoinGlass here and take a look at where the liquidation map is over the last 3 months, we can see that there is slight liquidity left there, right around, I would say, $4.25, $4.24 thereabout. So we'll see what eventually happens with this, because cryptocurrencies usually they just opt to follow the liquidity. Then obviously we are pushing towards the upside. So we can see there is almost no liquidity towards the upside. There's just this tiny bit left right there. So again, the main idea here is that we are very much bullish, but of course it's not going to be a surprise if in the event that we see that $4 being hit. I don't want to be the person who's gonna be like, oh, I told you it's what's dead and stuff like that. We have done extensive research on how this sideways price action has been for crypto time and time and again, and we looked at a massive correlation right there with altcoins. We could have even gone further to look at the stock market, and I'll tell you, it's a great picture. ICP just follows global liquidity just like any other cryptocurrencies. Now, I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button, share the video with your friends and family, and I will see you on the next one. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.